All right, and we are live. So, Miss Bailey Bryan, thank you so much for joining me. You are actually one of the administrators of the Garage Gym Life. Is that correct?
I help with social media, yes.
Awesome. So, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm always trying to talk to as many females as possible, especially in this strength training space. Um, as you said, you kind of have a different experience where you find that you are able to interact with a lot more females in this space. I have not had that experience. I want to get more, into your space, but I do appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you working out a time with me. This is very exciting for me, and I hope it's the same for you.
No, thank you
Um,
for having me. I'm
of
excited.
course, of course. So, obviously, no pressure. Just if you want, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into strength training, how you got into garage gym life, and we'll just kind of take it from there.
Sure. Um, I guess the best place to start is, fitness wise. I actually, believe it or not, used to hate with a passion working out. My husband and I used to actually really be overweight. I was at my heaviest about 230 pounds, and just I have two boys,
Sure.
and I only my oldest was 2 at the time, and I just remember feeling really crappy, and it just overtook my life. I couldn't focus on my family, I couldn't focus on work, I couldn't focus on anything except for how miserable I was being overweight. And so I finally was like, okay, let's do this. And I got a Body Beast. So I started at home with
Okay.
a ball and 5 pound dumbbells, and slowly lost a little bit of weight, slowly gained it back, slowly lost some, slowly gained it back. I yo-yoed forever trying to figure out what was going on, and make this as short as possible. I finally did lose the weight at home,
Mhm.
and then my husband joined me, and he wanted to lose weight too. And then we both lost weight, and I went from being overweight to average to rail thin. And
Okay.
I don't want to be thin anymore. It was my goal to be thin, and now I want to be stronger. So I started watching him because he's always been like a college athlete, and with work life after college, we both just lost sight of things and gained weight. And so I learned like the basics from him. I learned the basic like lifting from that Body Beast program,
Sure.
and then we joined a gym. And because we got to the point where it was like you either throw a ton of money trying to get all this equipment, or you go to a gym and you just have access to everything. So it was just kind of weird.
Sure.
They opened a giant gym right by our house, and it had everything and more.
That
So
always helps,
we did
right?
that. Yeah, no, it did. It made it easy, and it had childcare too, and so it was just super convenient.
Awesome.
I guess from there, I just started building muscle, and then I found myself getting kind of bored in the gym. I was like not having a purpose, and I started talking to people in the locker rooms that impressed me, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, you look really good. This is kind of where like what I want to look like. What are you doing?" And I found out that most of them were bodybuilding competitors, and so I started following their stuff, going to their shows, talking to them, training with them, and I was like, I want to do that. So that was kind of where I found my motivation to really get into lifting. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's where I
Yeah.
started.
That's awesome. If you don't mind, can you talk about? You said like early on, you lost weight, you put it back on. You kind of went through that yo-yo, or people call it a yo-yo. Some people call it a roller coaster, or whatever. But I think it's important to address because I think a lot of people fall kind of into that cycle of you know almost like bounce dieting, where they take a bunch of weight off and then they kind of fall back into their old routine, and they do it again, they do it again, they do it again. So, if you don't mind, just, could you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what kinds of things were you doing to get the weight off, and then what happened to have you put the weight back on?
Sure. Um, I would get comfortable. It's
Okay.
one of my big problems. um, I would lose the weight to where I felt good enough where I wasn't negative self-talking all the time, and where I could focus on other things like enjoying time with my family and enjoying work and doing other things, and then I would completely lose sight of it. And then another problem I had was I didn't know how to cook, so I forced for a long time. I forced down burnt chicken, burnt egg, burnt literally everything burnt. I could not cook for the life of me, but I could bake really well. And it's kind of funny because now it's completely opposite. I can't bake for my life. I've lost it. I've completely lost it. And I can cook really well now, so I've had to teach myself all of that.
But maybe it's for the best.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind. Much happier eating nice meals. But I found when I really thought about it, going back, the reason that I kept putting the weight back on and off was I just got I would get comfortable and I would go back into my old habits. Like, well, I achieved the look I'm happy with, so now I can just go all the way. Yeah, and stop exercising, stop forcing down some of the meals I just didn't enjoy. And then when I finally learned like to balance it, and you can work out in a way that works with your lifestyle in ways that are enjoyable, and you can eat things that are healthy but also enjoyable. And it's really switching it from diet mindset to lifestyle mindset. Like, this is how I need to live my life to be healthy.
And I think that last little part that you just said is absolutely huge. And I'd like to use myself as an example. I think you mentioned like your husband, he was a high school, college athlete. I was the same. So training and working out were always just a part of my life because it was just something I had to do in order to, like participate at the level that I wanted to. But then once you graduate, now it's on you. Like, you have to find the time, you have to find the motivation, to include that and make it a part of your life. And so, like countless other people out there, I put on weight, I lost weight, I put it on, I went through the same thing, and I'm someone who even created a career, out of health and fitness. I personal trained, I was a training manager. I'm now, a physical education teacher. And I bring this up because I think it's important for people to understand that, like, it's not just them going through this experience. Like, there are other people who, who work in the industry, who have these struggles, who, and like you said, you have to make a change. Like, you're training for your life, not just for a particular goal. Like, all right, I hit my weight goal. Like, and you said it best. I hit my weight goal and I got comfortable. And there's that saying, I don't know if I'm quoting it correctly, but like, comfort is like the death of motivation or something like that. So, you get comfortable. So you're just like, well, I kind of achieved what I wanted to. So I'll, ease back. I'll eat more treats. I'll, skip a couple more gym sessions, whatever. And then, 2-3 months go by and you're just like, oh my God, what the hell happened? Right. And then you start over. So yeah, like I said, I thank you so much for going into that. Like I said, I think it's always just important for people to kind of hear, someone else's perspective on that. So then you said once you joined the gym, you started noticing people with a particular physique that you liked, or physiques that you started to notice, and when you went up to talk to them, which I think is also a good thing to talk about. Like, people at the gym aren't scary. Like, I know there's that whole gym intimidation and all that stuff, but generally, people are just kind of going about their business, and they're usually pretty nice. And if you ask them a question and you're respectful and nice, like, they're gonna answer you in kind. So you then kind of found this little niche of, oh, well, these people that are kind of catching my eye, they're in this bodybuilding community. So, and then you mentioned to me kind of off air before we were starting that you are, training, you've competed, right? So do you mind getting into that a little bit?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
I've only done one show, so I can only speak from that.
That's one more than me, so congratulations.
But I just love the look. I love the look, and every person that I admired in the gym and that I wanted to get to know in the gym, all of them were in the sport. And obviously there are different categories. I do NPC. So NPC is the National Physique Committee.
Sure.
And that's you pay for your membership fee every year, and they host all the shows, and you register for their shows. But I do the lowest class, which is bikini, and it's like the smallest muscle group for women.
Okay.
Obviously, it goes from bikini all the way up to women's bodybuilding, and you see, people are about, I think it's 2 weeks from the Olympia in Florida, and that's about to. Everybody's excited to see that. But yeah, everybody I admired was in this bodybuilding. I had to learn more about it. So I've done one show. Usually you do a bulk and then a cut. And so you're trying to put on weight and muscle. And obviously when you put on weight, you're putting on fat too. And then your cut is generally about 2 or 3 months where you are losing as much fat as possible without losing your muscle mass to get on stage. So you're trying to be lean, but not too lean. Like, it's hard to explain it. Like,
you're almost trying to do the impossible, which is shed as much fat as possible while keeping as much lean muscle mass as possible. The body doesn't necessarily like that because the body tries to stay as balanced as possible. So it's a tough thing. And I have not competed myself. It's not been something that I've been generally interested in for my own personal reasons. But I've known friends who've competed, and I've known that they have been absolute bears during their cut period. And look, you seem like a very sweet person, and maybe you were different during that cut period. But yeah, I've known some people who it's a rough patch because you're really trying to force the body into this state where it really doesn't want to be. It's not super comfortable in this hyper lean kind of state because your body thinks it's starving while still trying to build muscle, and it's a big mess. But do you mind walking us through the process a little bit? Do you want to add a little more detail to that, or?
Oh, not at all. I don't mind.
Okay.
For example, my division in bikini, the ideal look is it's a softer muscle tone. They describe it as girl next door, that fantasy girl next door. But they want, they want big shoulders.
Okay.
They want a small waist, big glutes, and big hamstring. They want that glute hamstring line. And there's just so much detail that goes into it, and it's not. It's a weird thing because people who don't know a lot about it, when you look at pictures or if you go to a show, it can come across sexual to some people, but really it's just a presentation of your body and the muscle that you were able to obtain in the process.
Sure.
And the cut is interesting. Like I said, it's about 3 to 4 months depending where you are. So there's so much that I can say about it. But right now, I feel like I'm at a pretty healthy, average day-to-day weight for a normal person. However, I'm about to start my next cut in about March, and I've got about, if this just gives you an idea, I've got about 30 pounds I've got to lose before I get on stage. So to a person who's looking at me, you're thinking, well, she doesn't really look like she has 30 pounds as a healthy individual. But to get to the place you need to be to show off all the muscle that I have, because I've taken a year off from my last show. I was on stage this time last year, so I'm about 155 right now, and last year this time I was 118 pounds. So it's So if you can imagine trying to lose about 30 pounds in 3 to 4 months, and you're also trying to, I think the hardest thing is balancing your life. A lot of people end up that's their whole entire life. But I've got a family, I've got 2 little boys, and life goes on and things still happen, and it's dealing with, and that's the beauty of it. It's no one knows what you really went through to get yourself up there. So really just everybody who's on stage next to you, they all deserve to be up there. So it's pretty amazing. So
yeah, I think that's very well stated too. Actually, what you just said, I'm super interested in, is finding the balance between the training, the getting ready for competition, and having a family. Because, if you've been in this industry, as long as I have, as long as you have, you've definitely heard Well, I just don't have the time. Like I don't have the time like to put in the time at the gym to get myself healthy. So how do you find the time? You have a job, you have a career, mother of two, right? I believe you told me.
Yeah.
So where are you finding the time, to train to prepare for a competition? Like you're not just, hitting the gym for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour a day. Like you're preparing for a competition. That takes some serious dedication.
Yes. One of the things about your cut is like the closer you get to your show date, you're still doing the same amount of weightlifting, which is generally back then I was lifting about 2.5 hours a day. And then towards the end of my show, about the last month of prep, I was doing 85 minutes of cardio a day. So that's almost 4 hours of gym time every day. I did not have rest days during prep.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to do it a little bit different this time. But to make that work, because I could not live my life in the gym. My youngest was, I mean, he's 3 now, so he was 2 then. I bought this little step mill because the cardio just keeps going up and they prefer you to do it fasted. So I bought a little step mill off Amazon for $60 and it is haulable. So my kids were in the bath. I had my step mill in the bathroom. My kids were in there. I had my step mill in the living room. I took it everywhere. And it actually just broke last month because it's maybe a little bit sad. It's very like a sentimental piece.
Right, so the end of an era.
It's been everywhere. So. But you just make it work. And even some of the best people on stage that are going to the Olympia, like they have kids and they have lives. And I think when you don't let it take over your life and you're like, okay, this is the goal, but I still have to do my daily stuff.
Sure.
I think you have to find a way to make it work. Because it's not fair. Like no one else, I never stopped serving my family the meals they wanted to eat or serving my kids desserts. Like you've got to be around that stuff, and it's not their choice for me to be doing that. That's my own decision. So like I've got to get used to being around that stuff and not let it bother me. So just that kind of approach.
Absolutely. So you have garage gym life. So when did you kind of make the transition? Because I see a lot of the stuff that you post now. You're working out in your garage. You're sitting there right now. When did you make the transition from working out in like commercial gyms to just working out in your garage?
Well, it's really funny. It's really funny how it's all come together. But my home, my living room, my garage, that's where I lost all my weight. So that's always been like really special to me. I did it at home. And then when we wanted to be in an environment with more equipment where it made it easy, like you can walk into any gym and step up to a machine that's ready to go and you can just put your weight pin in a stack and just go. Whereas here, I'm in my garage. I've got, to be fair, I've really built it out now to tailor what I use and need. Like I've got cables and everything. But to answer your question in short, quarantine brought us back home. And honestly, once I got home and started working out in the gym again, like by myself, I loved it. I wanted my own time. Like I like my privacy. I like that no one's watching me. I can experiment. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not, because sometimes you do. Unfortunately, you get around ego lifters. Sometimes you are an ego lifter. It's just part of it. When you're in, like, around all those people, you have so much energy around you. And here, I've got my beats. It's quiet. It's nice. So I've enjoyed that, and I haven't gone back. My husband's gone back, but I didn't want to go back.
Yeah, no, I can totally and 100% understand everything you just said because I actually went through a very similar process. My fiance and myself used to. We both work in education. I'm a teacher. She's a social worker for a school district. We both made the decision to, we get up early in the morning. We would go to the gym, and then from the gym we would go, each to our jobs. Just because I knew after a full day of working with students, teaching, I was driving right past the gym, and I wasn't even giving it a second thought. So I knew I had to do it in the morning, and I started doing that, and then she kind of came along. And then right about the same time, with quarantine happened and gyms were shut down, and we tried doing like some body weight stuff, and I was trying to teach her like isometrics and stuff, and I was like, yeah, we could totally get by, and then we're just like, we get by for a month, and then a month turned into two, and two turned into three, and I was just like, all right, we got to start buying some stuff because it's like I can't keep doing this forever. So and that's when we got our squat rack that we put up in our garage. We kind of pieced together some barbells and plates from a little bit from her family, a little bit from my family. Just have our own little collection down there, and now we got a nice little setup. And like you said, it's like almost like a comfort because like it's always there. So it was, for me at least, and this is again my personal experience, it was very easy for me to be like, well, one day, even if I wake up, at 4 o'clock in the morning, be like, you know what, I could just sit on the couch and not go to the gym this morning. Because it's an extra step, right? It's a planned thing. You have to pack up, you have to get in the car, you have to drive there. And once you're there, you're going to do something. But at least now, the squat racks, it's right downstairs. So there's literally no reason for me to be like, I just don't feel like doing it today. It's right there. Like it takes me 10 seconds to walk down the stairs to get there. And like you said, I've always been a fairly private person, which is actually why this whole YouTube channel is very like off-brand for me. I'm a pretty private person. I don't really like to associate with as many people as humanly possible. So that to me, it's my nice kind of quiet. Put the music on. It's either just me or it's me and her, and we're just there to kind of work out. Knock it out in less. We usually finish up 45 minutes to an hour. Usually is about how long it takes us, and then we go about our day. And it's really, really been. I've loved it. Basically, if you didn't get that from all that.
No, I did, and I completely understand. You're right. It's just easy to step out, and now that it's becoming like winter, I don't have to defrost my car. I don't have to freeze. It is cold in here. I just gave in and put my heater in the garage because it's gotten a little bit cold. But
we had to buy one from Costco, so we got a little space heater. Because I'm sure winters in New Jersey might get a little bit cooler than Texas. So
sorry, freezing there now.
Yeah, it's pretty chilly already. This whole week's been in like the 30s. So,
I hate it. I'm not meant for cold. I'm not.
Oh no, see, I like cold as long as there's snow. Like there needs to be a point because I like to ski. Like I like all like the winter sports and all that stuff. So as long as there's like snow on the ground and it's cold, I'm okay with it because then there's like a point to it. But if it's just like cold and it's just gray and crappy and there's no snow, then it's just miserable. It's just cold to be cold, and that's the worst. But
okay. You've said that you like winter sports and everything. But we haven't talked about what your goals are and what you're training for.
Okay, so I am basically training for life. And I know that sounds like corny or whatever, but just to give you, so I've shared my story a few times on this, so I'll give like a brief version, but you actually don't know this, so I'll tell you. I told you before, growing up, I played baseball, football pretty much my entire life up until the point where I couldn't anymore. Accrued a couple injuries here and there. One specifically being I had a recurring low back injury from a very specific hit. I know exactly when it happened. My senior year playing football, I went up for a pass, got my legs taken out from under me, landed directly on my hip, and that was kind of the start of everything. From then on out, so that was when I was 17. I'm currently 31. From then on out, every year, between 6 months and a year, I would do something where, I would just, excruciating pain in my low back, like debilitating pain, and it could be something as stupid as like I picked up a pencil off the floor like the wrong way. So that was just something I always had to kind of deal with, train around, that kind of stuff. I've always been interested in health and fitness, so that was always part of my life. I got my degree in health and exercise science. I personal trained. I'm a health and physical education teacher. But circling back to that injury, after I would say maybe 3 years ago, so I was probably 28, 29, whatever, was when it got its worst, to the point where I actually lost some function in my left leg. I couldn't move my toes. If I was trying to dorsiflex my feet, I could do my right foot fine, but my left foot I couldn't get off the ground. I couldn't stand on my left leg if I was trying to put a sock on my right foot. So obviously very troubling for me. So that's when I finally, went to, I was getting adjusted by a chiropractor, and he was just like, look, we should probably get you an MRI. Got my MRI, sent it to a spinal specialist, and he was booked for the next, month, we'll say. So I was just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna not do anything for a month. So I just went back to square one. Oh, I kind of glossed over. We got the MRI back, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I can follow along. And so if you were following my spinal cord, you could see spinal cord, spinal cord, spinal cord, then my L4, L5 area, it just disappeared. And then, came back. So what happened was, at that point in time, about 3 years ago, I had a massive disc herniation that was pressing on my spinal cord that was causing all that dysfunction, down my left leg into my foot.
Did you have a lot of fluid buildup and everything from that?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a lot of fluid buildup and stuff like that?
I would imagine, yes, I probably did. I never, well, I'll get to it in a little bit, but I never got cut into or anything like that. So
that's where I thought you were going.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's how. Well, you'll see. We'll take this little ride together. So I made the appointment with the spinal specialist, who was booked up for a month, and me being me, I'm just like, well, I can either sit on the couch and be well in my own self-pity for this month, or I can start over from square one and go back to the gym and do what I can until that point. So that's what I did. I did option 2, and I started with body weight squats and body weight hinges, and I would do 100 a day, and I would just body weight squat, no weight, just focusing on good quality movement. Squatting as deep as I could, doing a hinge as deep as I could, or through a full range of motion as I could. And again, I would stop with pain or whatever, but just focus on the movement. From there, once I was able to knock those out, I would maybe add a little weight. Maybe I was doing a goblet with 5 pounds. And maybe I was doing a light rack pull or something. Working in some isometric training, some position holds, even some stuff where I would just focus on good quality movement, and I'd put a clock on, so a 5-minute clock, and I would just focus on plantar flexing and dorsiflexing my feet. Now, like I said, I couldn't dorsiflex my left foot, but after 5 minutes, if you're mentally focused and you're really pushing it and you have the intent to move it, it begins to start to come back. And so all throughout this process, I started adding little things, and just really focusing on good quality movement. By the time I stepped foot a month later into the spinal surgeon's office, exactly. I walked into his office. They took an X-ray. He, had the MRI up. He had the X-ray up, and he's looking at both of them. He's just he goes, "These are both of you?" I was just like, "Yeah." He goes, "This is the X-ray?" I was just like, "Yeah, they just took it 10 minutes ago." He goes, "This is your MRI?" I was just like, "Yeah, they took that a month ago." He was just like, "Why didn't you come see me immediately?" And I was just like, "Well, I called you. Your front desk said you didn't have anything for a month, so that's why I'm here now." And he was just like, well, had I seen you a month ago, like I would have had you on the table and I would have cut into you that day. And I was just like, well, I'm glad you didn't see me then. And he was just like, so what have you been doing? And I was just, well, I basically explained to him what I just explained to you. At this point, I'd been doing like some light squatting, light deadlifting, feeling great. So that's kind of where I'm at now. That was right around my 30th birthday, so maybe like a year and a half ago. And since then, I've kind of reworked my training. So I've retooled my training. God knows how many times. I was a stupid ego lifter where all I wanted to do was be as strong as humanly possible, and yeah, I was squatting 400 something pounds. I was deadlifting 500 something pounds. It was great. And then I would kind of tweak my back again or have some sort of injury and I'd kind of reset and have to rehab back to it. And then I do it again and again. So I fell into that cycle of where it's not like the yo-yo dieting. It was just like injury rehabbing. It was just like, oh, I'm getting really, really strong. And then I got hurt. And then I go, rehab back and, oh, I'm getting strong again and get hurt. So that to me was not going to be sustainable. So now, again, after the herniated disc and rehabbing that back by myself, I'm still trying to get stronger, but I have a very different approach. And that's actually one thing that I've talked. So I do a couple of these. I have the Coach's Corner where we're speaking right now. This is where I kind of talk to people in kind of like that fitness health space. I also have one that I do. It's called The Doctors, and it's with a good friend of mine. He's a chiropractor. He lives in Florida now. We do that usually every week, every other week or so. But something that we were talking about once was having a definition of strength. So, what does strength mean to you? Like, is it deadlifting, 500, 600, 700 pounds? I mean, if that's your definition of strength, like great. Then that's in your mind. If that's what you define as strength, then that's what you're going to train for. To me, that's not my definition of strength. My definition of strength is to be able to, move weight, but also to move in, very crisp, significant, like full ranges of motion, while also not injuring myself and feeling, the best that I possibly can. It's like that to me is my definition of strength and what I'm training for. So a lot of the stuff that I do now, when I squat, I'm not squatting heavy. I usually use squatting as almost like a mobility kind of exercise where I have some weight, but I'm really just using the weight to kind of to basically force me into a full range of motion so I can get as deep as I can. And then I have a little resistance, obviously, when I'm standing back up, but it's not something where I'm loading like 4 plates on each side and struggling and turning purple and all that stuff. Most of the stuff, if I'm doing any sort of lower body strength, I usually do isolateral where I'm training one leg at a time. To me, it just makes more sense because, if you're using one leg, you're clearly weaker than if you're using two, so it doesn't take as much weight to stress the muscle. And then two, because now you're using less weight, it just puts less of a load on the spine, which is, again, something that I'm cognizant of. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I do a mixture of every day I'm doing some sort of mixture of isometric training with some plyometrics. I'll usually do maybe like one strength exercise in that like strength definition of like heavier weights, like 3 sets of like 6 to 8, like that kind of range. And then the rest of the stuff is more in like the hypertrophy range, which is like, I usually do things in like the 12 to 15 rep range. And then I might finish off with a little bit more isometrics or, some sort of mobility kind of stuff. But so that's kind of where I'm at now. And that's kind of my little journey of how I got there.
That's an incredible story. It's really funny. When I was listening to it, there's so many things. We have a lot of similarities in our background. I was a big tennis player in high school, and I quit. I had to quit athletics in high school, and how I started gaining weight. I had a shoulder injury, so I was actually we were trying to qualify for state and a bad serve. And it's funny that you said picking up a pencil would tweak your back, because I remember I had surgery on my shoulder, and then I actually re-tore it lifting a suitcase at the airport.
Oh, geez.
But I never had another surgery on it. It's just always been a hard area to train. So
Okay.
I can relate to you with that.
Not trying to one up you or anything, but just more in common. My senior year of college, I ended up playing a little bit of rugby. I'm not someone who sits still well. So played a little bit of baseball in college, played a little bit of football in college. Both ended for different reasons. Ended up playing rugby a little bit my senior year. One of my friends was relentlessly trying to get me to play, so I ended up playing. Dislocated my shoulder playing that. So again, I know the shoulder. It's funny when you injure something how much it makes you realize like how often you use it, right?
Yes. It's so frustrating. But yeah, I actually learned how to drive left-handed because I was in a sling for so long.
There you go. If anything, you picked up a new skill, right? So.
But I think one of the best things I listened to you speak about was like your definition of strength, and generally I think it's 100% up to what you're training for, what your definition of strength is. And my definition of strength is trying to build, obviously I'm trying to build a very specific physique, but
Sure.
When I'm here in my gym, my goal and the way that I think about strength is how can I isolate this muscle best when I'm lifting? What can I pair that with to really burn it out? So I'll do a lot of things where it's like higher rep range, a couple heavy sets as well, and I'll do circuits. So I'm more of a circuit style person, and I couldn't do that in the public gym because I felt kind of like a jerk taking up more than one.
Yeah. You want to be that person bumping from like 5 different machines and.
No, that's crazy. But here it's completely guilt free, and I'm not anybody's welcome. I can set up exactly how I want it, and I'm always in like some kind of a triangle or a square or something. But yeah, like today I had arms and abs, so like I would set up 2 bicep exercises, 2 tricep exercises, 1 ab exercise, and I'll do like bicep, tricep, abs, and then I'll do that 4 times, and then I'll grab a drink and I'll set up the next circuit. So that's my style now. But yes, I loved your take on definition of strength. I think every person you have on here, you should ask them, what is your definition of strength? I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm starting to kind of lean into a little bit because it's true. I mean, look, everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, but most people that go to the gym go because they know it's good for them. And that's not really a definition of anything. That's just kind of acknowledging a fact. And I think a lot of people kind of fall into the trap of, look, everyone's been there who's been like, well, I go to the gym, I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. I don't see anything happening. Like, I'm not seeing any progress. This is frustrating. I should just stop. And I think that's kind of where people fall in. I think that's where that disconnect is, and people kind of fall into that trap, is because if you don't necessarily have a definition of strength, or would you even call it a goal, even if you don't have something that you slap up on your wall and you're just like, this is what I'm shooting for, like that's what I want to look like, or that's what I want to feel like, or that's what I want to do, whatever it is, it needs to be specific. And if you don't have something like that, then you're not really working towards anything, and you're just kind of going through the motions. That's kind of where that definition of strength came from me. I think some people hear the word strength and they automatically think like, oh, well, he just wants me to lift like huge amounts of weight. It's like, no, like for me, my definition of strength, like I said, was to be strong, but to also have like full range of motion, to be able to move with good quality movements and to be pain free. I have a friend who he's a writer. He is not in the fitness world whatsoever. He's got 3 kids, and his definition of strength when I talked to him last was he wants to be able to just play with his kids. Like he wants to just feel good. Like he doesn't want to be like exhausted or like have his back or knees hurting when he's trying to play with his kids. So that's his definition. And I was just like, great. Like that works for you. That gives you something to work for. Make it happen. Right?
Yeah, no, I think that's excellently put. Like that was the reason when I first started trying to lose weight. And it changes too. Your definition of strength changes with your goals. I think
Absolutely.
100% you need to have some sort of goal, otherwise you get bored. I got so bored. And then I started looking around and I was like, okay, that's what I want to do.
I like that. That looks fun.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was cool. It was cool. I specifically remember seeing this girl on the treadmill and I was like, man, her legs are huge. Like, awesome. Like what? And I walked up to her and she pulled her earphone out and I was like, what are you doing? So, and yeah, my husband's the same way. His definition of strength, if you asked him, his current goal is he wants to consistently deadlift, bench press, overhead press, 235 on everything. That's his goal. Well, he's like, I want to be able to easily and consistently do that. So he's doing his own thing. Like we don't work out together because we just have such goals and we just butt heads and it just we don't have the same goals, so we're not training the same. We follow different people. So
Yeah.
I think that's another thing is finding out what you want to do, what your goal is, and finding someone who's where you want to be in the next 2 or 3 years, and just pick their brain. Like pick their brain, talk to them, follow people you want to be like, and learn from them.
Well, absolutely. Definitely talk to as many different people as you can in the fitness space. And again, that was like a reason why I started this whole thing. I started talking to different people because everyone has a different take and everyone's got a different philosophy and everyone's had different experiences. So to me, I mean, hell, I'm doing this for me too. Like I think it's absolutely. I never thought in a million years that I'd be talking to someone from Texas in their basement, like about their training regimen. But here I am, and it's awesome. Like I think it is so much fun because we agree on stuff, we disagree on some stuff. Not that we disagree, but like we have different philosophies on things. I'm sure, and that's okay. And I think that's also a good thing for people to see is like you can have differences in training philosophy and opinion and whatever, and it's okay. Like just because it works for you, or just because it works for me, just because it works for you and not your husband, you're still married, you still love each other. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, no, and that's kind of been like the most fun part for me is just to be able to talk with different people, find out about their experiences, and hell, like I'm learning stuff all the time. So
it's really motivating, and that's one thing that I've loved about Garage Gym Life Media is I get to talk. Like I met you through there. I get to interact with all these people who are training for different sports. I've never talked to so many people. We have a lot of powerlifting community there, and I've never really looked at, focused at, or had a lot of interest in it until I started talking and watching how they train. It's so impressive. It's so impressive to me. I'll be sitting on the couch reposting someone, and I'm like, because he's working from home right now, and I just got to shout over the couch, babe, come watch this lift. Like pressing 100 pounds, and it's like, what are they doing? It's just mind blowing. So it's very impressive, and yeah, I agree with you. It's fun to watch other people's routines and pick up things and exercises that they're doing that you've never seen.
Well, since you brought it up, and I was going to ask you about it at some point, how about you talk to us a little bit about Garage Gym Life Media? Like, where did it come about? How did you get involved? What's your goal with it?
It was like a really happy accident.
Those are the best.
It really was. It was just totally lucky. I was just posting some stuff that I was messing around with in the gym on Instagram, and I just used the hashtag Garage Gym Life or like Garage Gym, something like that. And John follows all that, and he was really good about following up with people like, hey, and he reached out to me and he was like asking me about my training and this and that. And I ended up writing an article for the Home Gym Quarterly, which is their magazine.
Okay.
And I wrote about diet culture. So I wrote about how to avoid jumping on a treadmill and doing a fad diet January 1st.
This could be a whole other podcast if you just want me to rip into the New Year's resolutioners. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I read an article on that about how I lost all that weight and how I did yo-yo and then how I finally kept it off. And basically, long story short, how you can find a way to do it too without having to fad diet or be completely miserable, because you really can build a lifestyle that is not miserable and you hate yourself. Like, something in the garage. So that's how it started. So I wrote an article, and then he was asking me to write my author bio, just so people could know a bit about me. And I just told him, I was like, well, I do marketing and social media and this and that. And he was like, hey, you think you want to help with our social media? And I was like, okay. So, yeah, and it's actually the first, like, my degree's in electronic media and visual communications. So, like, I've always wanted to do marketing and writing, and that's always been a big passion of mine. And obviously now, like, this is my hobby. This is my favorite thing to do is lifting. And it's my first marketing account that was fitness related. So I just fully jumped in, and I've just been obsessed. Like, I love it. I'm on my phone all the time. So I get to talk to so many people, and it's just been extremely rewarding. It was a happy accident. I'm very grateful for it, and it's led me to speaking with people like you. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, I would say this was another happy accident, at least for me. Well, we've been doing this for almost about an hour, so I don't want to keep you up too late. But I would love to have you back if you ever, have anything else you want to talk about. If you want to get into, if you said you were writing about, diet culture and stuff, I would love to hear about that. We could do another one sometime. But thank you, Bailey, so much for coming on. This has been an absolute pleasure for me. And do you want to, shout out your, garage gym life, your own Twitter handle, whatever it is else that you got out there?
Yeah, if you are a home gym owner or lifter, follow Garage Gym Life Media. If you tag us, we will reshare what you're up to. I really do. I've gotten to know a lot of people personally because they do tag us regularly, and I appreciate that. I like seeing people grow and change and experiment, kind of like you. You can really see different sides. So please tag us. And you can follow me on Instagram too at BaileyBryan4, 4 because I'm a family of 4. So try to keep it easy. But yeah, I would love to come back if you ever want to learn more about NPC, or if you want to, like I've said, I'm about to start prep again. So if you ever want to talk more about that as I'm going through it.
Absolutely. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bailey. Goodbye, everybody.